The man who has taken the most heat after this massacre is Uvalde CISD Police Chief Pete Arredondo. Tonight we're hearing his detailed explanation for his actions that day based on his testimony to the committee. Here's Matt Doherty.
Arredondo says he didn't consider himself to be the incident commander that day. However, the House committee says they did not find that believable. According to the Texas House of Representatives interim report, there is only one person who should have been in charge when the first shots were fired. Uvalde CISD Police Chief Pete Arredondo. On page 7 of the House report, it reads, quote, "The Uvalde CISD's written active shooter plan directed its police chief to assume command and control of the response to an active shooter." Arredondo was the co-author of that active shooter policy. But what was likely Arredondo's greatest mistake identified by the committee was his failure to correctly categorize the event. Instead of a response designed to take out an active shooter, officers treated the killer as a barricaded subject. Arredondo testified, quote, "We have children now that we know in these other rooms. My thought was, we're a barrier. Get these kids out." He goes on to say, quote, "I just knew that he was cornered, and my thought was, we were a wall for these kids. We're not going to let him get to these kids in these classrooms." Arredondo testified the reason the shooter wasn't engaged and killed by officers was because nobody could see him. Quote, "When there's a threat, you have to visibly be able to see the threat. You have to have a target before you engage your firearm. That was just something that's gone through my head a million times, getting fired at through the wall. Coming from a blind wall, I had no idea what was on the other side of that wall. I never saw a threat. I never got to physically see the threat or the shooter." Nearly every outside law enforcement agency that testified during last month's Senate hearings stated this was clearly the wrong response. When there's an active shooter in a classroom, officers must breach the room immediately and engage the shooter with their firearms until he is dead. In West Houston, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.